All right, guys. Hey, my name's Phil Tereyla with Anglers Covey, one of the guides here. We're joining you for another edition of tips and tricks from the banks of the South Platte River. Today we're going to talk a little bit about rigging up our dry dropper rigs. We're kind of into August here. Lots of hoppers starting to fly around. Our hatches in the morning are happening quick and fast and kind of leaving us with a little bit of a void to fish here kind of middle of the day in the afternoon. So a great tactic is to cast dry dropper rigs. Hopper droppers, even smaller dries with a smaller dropper can be very effective this time of year as those fish kind of start to become opportunistic kind of in the midday and afternoon hours after those hatches have kind of dwindled. So starting off, we're going to keep everything real simple here, guys. So the key here is using a nice buoyant hopper, all right? This is going to really benefit you when you're adding your droppers and your subsurface patterns. Whether it's a really heavy kind of beadhead nymph, or even if you add a little split shot to help get your flies down, you want to make sure you have a dry fly that can support that and isn't sinking on every single cast. As we kind of move down the rig, you start with your hopper. I like to add 3 feet or so, or even more of our tippet before we get to our beadhead nymph. Here I have a little yellow Sally, just a nice little stone stuff that's kind of moving around this time of year, at least subsurface. Even if you're not seeing those little stones moving around, that can be a great one. But pretty much with anything as well, even little tiny RS2s mimicking the little mayflies, PMDs, caddis, pretty much just trying to match the hatch, especially with your subsurface patterns. Big thing here, my favorite part of this dry fly or dry dropper, hopper dropper type of fishing is, quite frankly, we're not looking at a bobber all day, and we're going to cover more than one section of that water column, okay? You're going to have that hopper on the surface, nothing better than watching a dry fly eat, and then again, we're going to have our kind of immature insects subsurface as well. So one of the reasons I really like to start off with 2 or even 3 feet of line of our tippet section going down to our little dropper, very similar to like when you are casting a nymph rig. You want to be 1.5 to 2 times the water depth when you're casting that nymph rig. It's going to decrease the amount of drag pulling on your flies in reference to your indicator. As you're getting a little bit deeper, the water current, the flow, is going to be moving much slower than the top of the water. So giving yourself a little bit extra so those flies subsurface are not moving exactly at the same pace as that hopper on top is really going to benefit more of a dead drift and give you a better presentation. It's also going to allow you to fish a little bit deeper water. If you're fishing a shallow riffle, you're going to, rather than adjusting so much the depth between your hopper and your dropper, just adjust the angle at which you're casting those flies. You may not need to cast those flies quite up as far upstream as you would in a deeper run. You get in a deeper run, you're going to have that depth already, and this is just going to save you time and tippet from having to retie a foot of line here, 2 feet of line there. So kind of keeping that in mind, it's still going to be nice and tight right to that hopper. You're going to be able to detect those strikes, but at the end of the day, you're still going to get a nice natural drift with those nymphs. So that's one of the big reasons I really enjoy fishing this hopper dropper or dry dropper setup. If you guys have any questions, please stop in the shop. Come visit us over at Anglers Covey. Drop us a phone call or an email. We'd be happy to help answer any further questions. So thank you all so much for tuning in. This is Phil Tereyla, one of our guides here at Anglers Covey. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you on the water.